Hey there! Welcome to Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve, located in south central Colorado. I'm here in the middle of the sand dune plain, covering 30 square miles, and just look at these amazing views that we have here. If you stay around for the whole episode, I'm going to tell you about all of the great ecological diversity here, a little bit of the history about the park, and what you can find here if you ever come to visit. And hopefully you do someday. Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve first began as a national monument, enacted by President Herbert Hoover in 1932. The push for a national monument began when businessmen in the 1920s took an interest in the dunes. Their vision was to use the sand to make concrete and to also excavate the dune field in search of gold. However, a letter writing campaign led by the all-women's group, the PEO Sisterhood, led to leaders in Colorado and Washington, D.C. to declare the site a protected national monument. The site then gained national park status in 2004, becoming the nation's 58th national park. The area surrounding the dunes is actually one of the most ecologically diverse regions throughout the Rockies. Throughout this park, there are many different type of wildlife, but also different biospheres, including everything from tundras to the sand dunes to even much more the flatter plain, where we get a different type of flavor and a type of atmosphere. The biospheres within the park range from alpine tundras, subalpine forests, montane woodlands, riparian, shrublands, subka wetlands, and the dune field itself. There are 7 known species of insects that can only be found in the dune field, and nowhere else on Earth. Current theories suggest that the sand dunes were formed after the natural recession of a large lake in the San Luis Valley. Smaller lakes remained and continue to receive sediment from mountain streams carrying off runoff from the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. 2 prevailing winds, one from the north and one from the south, brought the sand and sediment together to form the sand dunes we know today. There are still small streams that surround the dunes and continue to bring fresh sediment from the mountains that continue to add to the dunes each year. Just a little bit further inward, we begin to see a little bit changes in the color of the sand. Now, at first, what I thought was a little bit of cloud cover kind of affecting this darker coloring of the dunes from lighter coloring of the dunes. I was actually surprised to look up at the sky that there wasn't really a cloud moving over at this point. But actually, this is the first up-close glimpse we get to see how the different formations and sources of the sand begin to take shape and how they kind of fill the dunes up. So at this distance, we can kind of see a really up-close view of how the sand composition begins to change. From my earlier moment where we were in the darker sections of the dunes, this is the sand that we're looking at now. Let's go and transition to a part of the dunes that was just right behind us, that a little bit lighter in composition. Now this is where the sand begins to change. You can see that the granules begin to be a little bit larger, and we see that a lot of much more lighter of the granules starting to form here. It's pretty neat to think that just right here we can kind of see, not necessarily this transition, but this kind of dramatic changes that takes place. Sure, like the gradient may take place over 4 or 5 feet, but it's incredible that it's almost like a night and day change. And think about that with all the wind blowing around, how the sand kind of moves as like this living organism. So, do these dunes move? Of course they do. You can't hear it already. The wind is blowing in the background, and the wind pushes the movement of these dunes northward, southward, this way, that way. But although the dunes move every single day, generally what's unique about this place is the shape of the dunes doesn't necessarily change over time. Early photographs of explorers who were able to capture the first images of this region, were able to capture the shape of these dunes, and much more contemporary photography can kind of catalog that the general shape of these dunes has maintained a level of consistency throughout the years. So yes, while these dunes do move from day to day, each particle by particle, overall the shape of these dunes remain relatively stable. More than likely, the earliest humans to witness the Great Dunes here were probably of the Clovis and Folsom peoples, approximately 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. And over the years, as more people have migrated to this area, they've discovered the dunes, and it's meant something a little bit special for each and every group that's found its place here. Different Native American groups have different ceremonial practices and sacred meanings of this place. In addition to some early explorers such as Zebulon Pike wrote about the dunes and its movement, similar to that of the sea, with its wildness and bizarreness for this feature to exist way out here in the high altitude of Colorado. Even though the dunes has this very dry appearance, surprisingly, the dunes under many feet of the initial layer actually quite moist, which makes sense a little bit given a lot of the snow-capped mountains of this region and the constant runoff, as we saw down at the stream. A lot of the moisture that's held under these dunes kind of really helps keep it grounded and maintains the shape over its long lifespan. So, although the sand dunes around me look fairly dry and fairly arid, I wanted to stop here and show you a quick glimpse that deep underneath layers of sand here, there actually is moisture and precipitation that exists deep within these dunes. So I'm going to show you, pull around here, you can kind of take a look. As I pull apart this kind of like clump of sand here, you'll see that it's kind of got a little bit of moisture to it. Now I pulled apart a little clump here earlier just to confirm what I found here, but you can see that there's indeed moisture that exists in these dunes just below the surface. And I just happened to come upon this spot after a few winds kind of blew some sand around. So pretty fortunate that we get to uncover something like this during our short hike up the side of the dune. So I'm not sure if you can hear me that well over the sound of the wind, but we're pretty fortunate here today because we began the day on a cool, low 70-degree day, and the breeze has ever been a little bit slightly throughout my hike up here. So pretty great because temperatures up here can reach up to 150 degrees Fahrenheit during the heat of the summer. But also contrast that with during the middle of the winter, where the temperatures in the middle of the dunes can reach as low as -20 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think we're pretty lucky here today to be a hike up to this really high vantage point of these dunes and see this great dune plain that you see here behind me. The movement of these dunes aren't a continuous dance going back and forth between two opposing wind forces. Right behind me you can see these mountains, and winds come down from these mountains and push the sand southward. But over time, the sand eventually meets northern bound winds, and you get this kind of dance movement that goes back and forth that kind of maintains the shape of these dunes over time. Now, there's a little bit of continuation of the build of the sand here through natural erosion of the sand peaks here on the mountains. And the sediment there kind of trickles down through a little stream that runs alongside the dunes and eventually makes their way through to part of the system up here. So how old are these dunes? Well, no one's exactly 100% sure. There are new dating techniques to kind of help pinpoint kind of the time period that these dunes first started forming. And through these techniques, scientists have been able to go deep into some of these larger dunes and to extract sand from the inside of these and to measure the moisture levels as to how long that they could have been exposed and buried underneath down. I was pretty lucky today since I received a special permit to camp out here in the middle of the night, here out in the dune field. Now, one of the rules explained to me was that if you can see the road, if you can see the visitor center, if you can really see any of the civilization, you're too close for camping. You have to hike all the way out here over these dune fields to even begin camping. And I'm really hoping for a clear night tonight so I can see the stars and hopefully the moon can illuminate the dunes just a bit. So a couple years ago, I was on a road trip to Wyoming with my boyfriend to go see the Great American Eclipse. And along the way, we decided to stop here at Great Sand Dunes National Park. And we weren't really sure what we were going to find here. Even though I grew up in southwestern Colorado, I always heard about the dunes, but never took a visit myself. You know, we just took the drive out here off of the interstate, and you know, just being young and excited and full of energy. We didn't even look at any park information, any hours, and unfortunately, we were in luck because here at Great Sand Dunes, the park is open 24 hours. So you're welcome to come out here to the park at any hour of the day. And some people actually like to come out and walk here at night to see the dunes illuminated by the moon, kind of see them glow. But also it's kind of a nice interpretation to see out here, because in the middle of the day it can get quite hot up here. And today we're actually fortunate to have a nice cool breeze, some great cloud cover, and a nice first day of summer here. So right now, one of the great things about these sand dunes is they're super fun to run down once you get to the top. So here I go. Oh my God. Located in the sand sheet, and out here there's a great plain of small shrubberies such as rabbit brush and other small grasses that help solidify the sand that is settled here. However, the sand that is here will eventually blow and make their way northward to retreat back up to the greater dunes. You can already tell the wind is currently blowing, and it's blowing in a northward direction to make that retreat and contribute to the dance taking place that I mentioned earlier. leaving, finding my way up this one. Definitely a challenging endeavor, but we got it. Sand dunes, and band set up, music's playing. I'm here to take part in this dance this evening. See around me, there's movement all about. Sand dunes going northward, back up towards the mountains. Continue this continuous movement taking place here tonight. So tonight we're actually right on time for tonight's festivities. I'm here, Great Sand Dunes National Park, in the middle of this wonderful dance of wind, sand, and this wonderful sunset. I'm going to show you here. Check this out. That's what I came up here to see. Part of this amazing earth right here, Southwestern United States. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Hope to see you again. Standing here in the middle of Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve. I stayed the night in the dunes and it was amazing. The beautiful bright sky, and I'm glad I could come out here on the longest day of the year and really spend my time here in this beautiful park and with you. So thank you so much for watching. If you like videos like this, please comment, like, subscribe. Definitely let me know what you think, because I'll definitely be working on more projects like this. Thank you.